Hurricane's got the energy. I don't know what he's doing. Ain't nobody started yet.
Hey, Pop!
Hey, Hurricane. All right, Slugger. Don't hit Shane the head with it.
Yeah, I'm going to get my swimming trunks.
What'd you say?
I love you.
I love you too. Bye.
When I was a kid, I always knew I was different in some way. Different by the way I walked, the way I talked, the way people interacted with me. I just seemed to not fit in wherever I went. And I feel like that has led me to strive for acceptance among people.
This is hard. What was it like raising Ian? I can't describe it. He was the most joyful kid to raise. He was just an easy kid, a happy kid. He would play and laugh and sometimes sing, sometimes dance a little bit. People always wanted to be around him. He's very inquisitive, very loving, just a nurturing kid, always caring about others. And, you know, growing up, he had different interests. We knew what he liked and what he didn't like, but we always tried to expose him to things like sports he played. We tried to get him to play soccer, and I actually put him on my hip and ran him down the field at the Y a couple times, and I said, this is not his sports. And then he went from there to t-ball and played basketball with the church. And I'll never forget this. When he was in 5th grade, he went to make a basket, and he came off the court at our church, and he said, oh, I hate this. I just hate doing this. And that's when his dad and myself talked, and we said, you know what? This is just not his gift.
Growing up was very hard. I know I always made sure to cover it up, to make it look like everything was okay. Because I always wanted to be like independent. I never wanted anybody to help me with my problems. It was just very stressful for me, honestly. And as I transitioned into puberty, I started to notice that it was who I was. This is me. It's part of my identity. It's not the only thing that makes it my identity, but it is part of it. And I never truly accepted it. It always made me cringe when I thought about it. It always made me sick to my stomach. I was just so afraid about what other people would think about me. And some nights I'd cry myself to sleep, just like praying to God that He would take it away from me. But it never happened. I'll never forget, one day I was on the playground and it was time for recess. So we walked out and I was like walking the track and people were starting to play soccer. And I walked up to this dude and I was like, can I play? And he goes, no, this is only for guys to play. You're a girl. And that just like demolished me. I'd never been, I guess, so embarrassed and humiliated for being who I was. And after that event, I think it really made me start trying to live up to social standards and standards of masculinity, and always thinking about what everyone else perceives me as rather than what I perceive myself as. Still, after all these years, all the way from that 4th grade, I still can't acknowledge it myself. I can't recognize it. I'm too afraid. And while this semester's going on, I start losing it. Having night terrors. Every night I'll have a nightmare. Every single night. I'll wake up and I'm still in a dream. And there's a snake biting my face off, or a demon clawing at my skin. And I was just about to have a breakdown. And finally, I did break down. And I realized that I couldn't do this alone. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through of my counseling after I had my mental break, and I decide that I need to come out to at least one person to progress through the, healing process. And I decide I'll tell Lakin. Me and her had become very close since I came up to Appalachian, and closer than I ever expected. So it was sometime during, midway, or a little bit more than midway through 2nd semester. And I just texted Lakin. I was like, Lakin, I need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. She's like, okay, I'll be over. So she comes over to my room, and I'm just sitting in my little chair, and she sits down. She's like, what's up? And I'm like, I just break down. I'm bawling, crying. And it took me 10 minutes to tell her that I was gay. That was the first time I'd ever said it out loud to another person. And I think that was a real turning point. It was a turning point. It was a turning point in me and Lakin's relationship, and also my relationship with myself. I finally accepted myself for who I was.
When he went to Charlotte, I started thinking, okay, where's the girlfriends? And every time I would talk with him about a girl that I thought would like him, or if he had a girl that was a friend, he's got several girls at Appalachian that are super close to him as personal friends. I would say, is she the one? Is she the one? I would say for 1.5 years, I had suspected it. And it was like the Lord was preparing my mind, but not my heart.
Well, we were headed back from shopping. It was me, my mom, and my dad. And I had been quiet all night. I was dead silent. Because I knew tonight was the night that I was going to tell them. I didn't know how. I was afraid they were going to disown me. I was afraid that they were not going to love me anymore. I was afraid I was going to be alone. So we were on the way home, and we were about probably like 10 minutes from home, and I just said, I turned off the radio. I said, Mom, Dad, do you ever wonder why I'm not close with y'all at all? And they said, yeah, but we just thought that was you, that you were distant. And then my dad was like, is there something you want to tell us? And I said, I'm gay. And my dad said, we still love you. But my mom was kind of silent for the first few seconds. And my heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, what is she gonna say? And she put her hand on, she was sitting in the back, and she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, we'll still be here with you.
There is nothing or no one or no circumstance that would separate us from Ian. I do not want to live a life apart from him. He is our son. He is wonderfully and fearfully made in the image of God. We love him. We love nothing would change that. So as far as the future, I pray that our relationship continues to be strong, that we continue to love on each other, and that we continue to call on our Savior Jesus Christ to help us understand and help us make the next steps in this.
What'd you say?
I love you.
I love you too. Bye.